Welcome back to the daily devotions that we are trying to do on Psalm 23. And today we want to finish up verse 2. He leads me beside quiet waters. Now let's go ahead and do some observations here. The first observation I want to remind us of is Psalm 23 is not about the sheep, it's about the shepherd. And this is evident from verse 2 and 3 with the personal pronoun he. He makes me lie down. He leads me. He restores. He guides. It's further emphasized when you take a look at verse 4, your rod and your staff. Verse 5, you prepare a table. Verse 5, you anoint my head. The shepherd is focused on caring for the sheep. Psalm 23 causes us to refocus our spiritual eyes on the character and the practice of the shepherd. And this is very, very important for us to understand and embrace. Now, the word lead means to guide toward a fixed point, a specific destination. The shepherd knows what the next destination point is and how best to get to that destination. How wonderful that he leads to the next destination, to the next stop in our journey. And the sheep know the voice of the shepherd. When he calls, they follow after him. And he's been this way before with other flocks of sheep. And so he knows the pitfalls, he knows the dangers, he knows the best way to get to that destination for rest and for refreshment. The phrase beside still water carries a couple of ideas here. First of all, notice that it's another reference to rest and peace, like the green pastures. Note the word beside. It indicates a source of calm, not fast-running water. Sheep are skittish and they are easily frightened, and a shepherd would not lead them to a very clear pool of water that is being fed by a rushing spring or a waterfall. The noise and the splashing of water would scare the sheep. So he leads them to water that is calm flowing water, gentle to their senses, that they would drink deeply and become refreshed. Notice the plurality of the word waters. He has many places of refreshment for the sheep along the pathway that he is guiding them. He knows all of the prime spots to go ahead and pause for the sheep to rest and become refreshed. Remember, they're carrying quite a burden just naturally as sheep with heavy wool upon them. And this can be a very warm, hot area. But he brings them to waters where they can refresh themselves. So how do we apply that today? What are some takeaways for us today? The first I would suggest to you, as I mentioned earlier, sheep are skittish and frightened easily. So are we. But like sheep, they huddle next to the shepherd. They trust him. They hear his voice. They will follow him. And so as we take comfort from this, comfort that the Lord knows our nature, that the Good Shepherd understands, the question becomes, what situation or person is generating fearful feelings, that is generating concern for you, that is causing anxiety or worry? Like the sheep, we need to huddle close to the shepherd. We need to believe that the shepherd is deeply concerned about us, that his role is to protect us and to comfort us and make sure that we have nourishment and refreshment for each step of the journey. And then all along our life's journey, guys, each step of our marriage or raising children or employment opportunities or challenges or ministry that we might be involved with, the shepherd will walk before you and guide you to the next rest stop for refreshment, to be rejuvenated. He wants us to be successful as we live the Christian life. He knows the journey that we are on. Each one of us has a specific journey that he has set out for us to walk. But he's before us. And he knows the next rest stop for us that we need to pause and to be reminded of his faithfulness and to become refreshed. Carolyn oftentimes had things that she wanted to accomplish. She would have to-do lists. And when she wasn't feeling well, she would often say, and I would hear her, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to be sick. I don't have time for this. And what the shepherd was trying to communicate to Carolyn, and perhaps to you, and I know in my life at times to me, he's communicating, you need some me time with me. You need to pause and allow me to refresh you. Now, he can provide these moments for us. He can create this environment for us. But just like you're traveling in a car and you see that rest stop and you've already been pushing 400 or 500 miles, I only have a little bit more to go, and you blow by the rest stop. Spiritually, we can do the same thing. The good shepherd, the chief shepherd, can create a pause for us. But if you don't pause, you're communicating you don't trust the shepherd and his direction and what he's doing. Stop and reflect on all the still waters Jesus has led you to. Make a list of all the times that when you stopped and you drank from the crystal clear, refreshing water of the Word of God, and you drank deeply, and you lingered there until Jesus told you to get up and move, until Jesus called your name and say, okay, let's take the next step of our journey. Stop and reflect on that. And then after you make that list, on the top of the page, put down, my shepherd is faithful. My shepherd is faithful. And indeed he is. Maybe you're at a point where he wants you to slow down and stop. Beloved, trust him. He is leading you to this point. He has refreshment for you. Take some me time with the shepherd. Enjoy the green pastures. Enjoy the quiet waters. When we get together tomorrow, we'll look at Psalm 23, verse 3. The first part, he restores my soul. I trust that you are finding benefit from this and encouragement. Please feel free to pass the link on as well. Thank you for tuning in each day.